to Ty Walks the Talk. Richard Wright, the fall of a literacy giant? Let's talk about it. But first, let's talk about what we're going to need for this workout. I'm going to be using a 15-pound weight, and we're going to have 4 different exercises. And we certainly can't forget our handy dandy booty band. I'm just taking it straight up to a 3.2. Oh, I'm already there, and I hope you are as well. My name is Ty, also known as Tyra, and I am glad that you came to walk with me today. Or, at the very least, sit down and watch me. I love it. That being said, we're going to be talking to Gemini, and without further ado, hi Gemini.
Hi Tyra, it's nice to chat with you again. How can I help you today?
We're not going to be rambling today. We're going to be talking about Richard Wright. I heard he was a literacy giant.
Absolutely right. Richard Wright was a literary giant. His novel, Native Son, is considered a masterpiece of 20th century American literature. It explores the psychological impact of racism and oppression on Black Americans. Wright's writing was raw, powerful, and groundbreaking. Would you like to talk more about Native Son or explore some of Wright's other works?
Yes, let's talk about Native Son and the way America viewed race and crime.
Absolutely. Native Son offers a powerful critique of how America viewed race and crime in the mid-20th century. The novel explores how systemic racism and oppression create conditions that can breed violence and desperation. Wright's portrayal of Bigger Thomas challenges the simplistic notion that Black criminality is simply a matter of individual moral failing. Would you like to delve deeper into how the novel critiques the justice system, or perhaps explore the role of media in shaping public perception?
Why was Wright accused of pandering to white audiences?
Richard Wright faced accusations of pandering to white audiences for a few reasons. Some critics argued that his portrayal of Black characters, particularly in Native Son, reinforced harmful stereotypes. The novel's focus on violence and criminality was seen by some as playing into white fears and misconceptions about Black people. Additionally, Wright's decision to leave the United States for France was perceived by some as a rejection of his racial identity and a desire for acceptance in white European culture. Would you like to explore this criticism further or discuss Wright's response to these accusations?
Let's explore that criticism.
Alright, let's dive into the criticism of Richard Wright pandering to white audiences. Some argue that his portrayal of Bigger Thomas in Native Son reinforces harmful stereotypes about Black men as violent and dangerous. They believe Wright's focus on the psychological impact of racism on Bigger is less about the Black experience and more about eliciting shock and sympathy from white readers. Would you like to explore this criticism further, or perhaps discuss Wright's own response to these accusations?
Let's discuss his response.
Richard Wright never explicitly addressed the accusations of pandering to white audiences. However, his writings and actions suggest that he was deeply committed to exposing the realities of Black life in America. He was a fierce critic of racial oppression and believed that art could be a powerful tool for social change. Wright's decision to leave the United States for France was motivated by a desire for greater freedom and opportunity, not a rejection of his racial identity. He continued to write about the Black experience from his new perspective, further demonstrating his commitment to racial justice.
Okay, so did Wright's move to France help or hurt his career or influence?
Moving to France had a significant impact on Richard Wright's career. While he gained a new perspective and freedom as an artist, he also lost some of his connection to the American Black community. His later works, while still powerful, didn't have the same cultural impact as Native Son. Would you like to hear more about his life in France or the reception of his later works?
His life in France.
Richard Wright's move to France had a significant impact on his life and work. He found a sense of freedom and intellectual stimulation in Paris that he hadn't experienced in the United States. He became part of the vibrant expatriate community and befriended other influential writers and intellectuals. However, his time in France was also marked by periods of loneliness and isolation. He struggled to find a sense of belonging and faced criticism from some who accused him of abandoning the fight for racial equality in America. Would you like to hear more about his friendships with other famous writers in Paris? Or perhaps about his work during this period?
Why did Wright believe the FBI was tracking him?
Richard Wright believed the FBI was tracking him due to his political activism and writings. As a prominent figure in the Communist Party and a vocal critic of American society, he became a target for government surveillance. The FBI's infiltration of left-wing organizations and its practice of monitoring individuals deemed subversive made Wright a prime candidate for surveillance.
Wow. So was there evidence to support it?
There's some evidence to support Richard Wright's belief that he was being tracked by the FBI. The Bureau was known to monitor individuals they considered a threat to national security, and Wright's political activism and associations made him a target. While there's no definitive proof of direct surveillance, the FBI's actions towards other writers and activists suggest they likely had Wright under observation. Would you like to hear about some of the specific tactics the FBI used to monitor individuals during this time?
Well, before you start that, I want to tell the good people we're 5 minutes in and we're at a point 33. We're about to get into our first set
of Around the Body Passes. Remember to hold your core tight and let's get this work in.
We're back on our treadmills. I hope you enjoyed that little set. Gemini, let's get back to talking about Richard Wright.
Alright, let's dive into the FBI surveillance tactics during the time Richard Wright was under suspicion. They used a variety of methods, including wiretaps, mail interception, and informants within his social circles. The FBI also maintained extensive files on Wright, documenting his activities, associations, and writings. Would you like to hear about some specific surveillance techniques used during this era?
Yeah, let's talk about the mail technique.
Alright, let's dive into the FBI surveillance tactics during the time Richard Wright was under suspicion. They used a variety of methods, including wiretaps, mail interception, and informants within his social circles. The FBI also maintained extensive files on Wright, documenting his activities, associations, and writings. Would you like to hear about some specific surveillance techniques used during this era?
You just told me that information. Tell me some new information.
FBI used a variety of surveillance tactics during the time Richard Wright was under suspicion. One common method was the use of informants who were planted.
I have another question.
Absolutely. What's on your mind?
So, were other Black intellectuals experiencing similar scrutiny during that time?
Yes, many other Black intellectuals and activists were subjected to FBI surveillance during this time. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and James Baldwin all faced similar scrutiny. The FBI's COINTELPRO program was specifically designed to disrupt and discredit these individuals and organizations. Would you like to hear about specific examples of surveillance targeting other Black leaders?
Yeah, give me one example.
An example of FBI surveillance of a Black leader was their targeting of Martin Luther King Jr. The FBI monitored his phone calls, opened his mail, and even sent him threatening letters. They attempted to discredit him as a leader and undermine the civil rights movement.
Oh, sounds like they had the same tactic across the board. All right.
Absolutely. The FBI's surveillance tactics were widespread during the civil rights movement. Many Black leaders, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, were subjected to similar tactics. It was a way for the government to monitor and, in some cases, disrupt the activities of those they deemed a threat to national security.
Okay. Well, let's talk about his mysterious death.
Richard Wright's death was officially ruled a heart attack, but there's been some speculation about the circumstances surrounding his passing. Some believe he may have died from complications related to alcoholism or stress. Others have suggested the possibility of foul play, given his outspoken criticism of American society and his association with controversial figures. However, there's no concrete evidence to support these theories, and the official ruling of death by natural causes remains the most widely accepted explanation.
So why do some people believe Wright was poisoned?
Theory that Richard Wright was poisoned has been circulating for years. Some people believe his outspoken criticism of American society and his association with controversial figures made him a target for assassination. The fact that he died suddenly at a relatively young age has fueled speculation about foul play. However, there's no concrete evidence to support this theory, and most medical experts agree that his death was likely caused by natural causes. Would you like to hear about some of the evidence that supports or contradicts the poisoning theory?
Well, before we get into that, I want to tell the good people, we just made it over a half a mile. We're 11 minutes in, and you know what? It's time to hit one more set. So let's get ready for that. It's only going to be 30 seconds.
We're diving straight into some deadlifts. Remember to keep your core tight and don't be afraid to bend your knees. Now let's get this work.
We are back on our treadmills. I hope you enjoyed that little delight. Well, we're going to get back to talking to Gemini. Gemini, let's talk about James McCune.
James McCune Smith was an incredible figure. He was the first African American to earn a medical degree, and he used his platform to fight for abolition and social justice. He was also a prominent writer and intellectual, and his work had a lasting impact on the fight for racial equality. Would you like to hear more about his medical career, his abolitionist work, or his writing?
Let's talk about the challenges he may have faced.
James McCune Smith faced significant challenges as a black man in the 19th century. Despite earning a medical degree, he was denied admission to the American Medical Association due to his race. He also faced discrimination in his attempts to establish a medical practice in New York City. Would you like to hear about some specific examples of the discrimination he faced, or perhaps about his contributions to the field of medicine?
Yeah, why was he forced to study medicine in Scotland?
James McCune Smith wasn't forced to sell medicine in Scotland. He went there to study medicine because he was denied admission to medical schools in the United States due to his race. He earned his medical degree from the University of Glasgow, becoming the first black person to do so. After graduating, he returned to New York and established a successful medical practice. He also became involved in the abolitionist movement and used his platform to advocate for racial equality.
Okay, so how did his education at the University of Glasgow shape his views on race and medicine?
James McCune Smith's experience at the University of Glasgow was undoubtedly shaped by his race. While he was able to excel academically and earn his medical degree, he likely faced some degree of prejudice and discrimination. However, the exact nature of his experiences is difficult to determine, as he didn't write extensively about his time in Scotland. It's possible that his experiences in Glasgow further fueled his commitment to racial equality and social justice.
Okay. Was he aware that his success would challenge racist beliefs in America?
James McCune Smith was undoubtedly aware that his success as a physician and intellectual would challenge prevailing beliefs about race and intelligence in America. His achievements directly contradicted the racist notion that black people were intellectually inferior. It's likely that he understood the significance of his accomplishments and the potential impact on the broader struggle for racial equality.
Okay. So what impact did his medical practice and abolitionist writings have on the black community?
James McCune Smith's medical practice and abolitionist work had a profound impact on the black community. As the first black person to earn a medical degree, he challenged the notion of black intellectual inferiority. His pharmacy served as a safe haven for fugitive slaves, and he used his platform to advocate for racial equality. Smith's achievements inspired future generations of black professionals and activists. Would you like to hear about specific examples of his abolitionist work?
Yes.
Absolutely. James McCune Smith was a key figure in the Underground Railroad. His pharmacy served as a safe house for fugitive slaves, and he provided them with medical care and assistance. He was also involved in organizing resistance to the Fugitive Slave Act, which required citizens to aid in the capture of escaped slaves. Would you like to hear about specific examples of his involvement in the Underground Railroad?
Well, before we get to that, good people, we are over 15 minutes into this workout. We're about to go into our next 30 seconds of weights.
We're jumping straight into our next workout, and if you know the name of it, drop it down in the comments below. Now let's get this work.
We are back on our treadmills, and I know you enjoyed that. Well, at least I did. All right, we're going to go back to talking about James Smith.
Right. Let's dive deeper into James McCune Smith's involvement in the Underground Railroad. As a prominent figure in the abolitionist movement and a successful businessman, he was well positioned to assist escaped slaves. His pharmacy served as a safe house, and he provided medical care and financial support to those seeking freedom. Would you like to hear about some specific instances of Smith aiding fugitive slaves, or perhaps about the risks he faced in doing so?
Let's talk about the aiding.
Right. Let's dive into the 80s. What would you like to focus on? We could explore the decade's biggest
Gemini.
fashion trends.
Let's talk about the aidings of the slaves.
I believe there may be some confusion. The 1880s were a time of great change and upheaval in the United States,
All right,
particularly
Gemini.
for African
I
Americans.
got it. Let's just go to the next question, right?
All right, let's dive deeper into James McCune Smith's medical practice. As the first black doctor in the United States, he faced significant discrimination from both patients and other medical professionals. Despite these challenges, he established a successful practice in New York City and became known for his skill and compassion. Would you like to hear about some of the specific challenges he faced as a black doctor in the 19th century?
How did he balance working within racist systems while actively seeking to dismantle them?
James McCune Smith had to navigate a complex system of racial discrimination. As a black doctor, he faced prejudice from both patients and his medical colleagues. Despite these challenges, he established a successful practice and became known for his skill and compassion. Would you like to hear about some of the specific challenges he faced in his medical career, or perhaps about his contributions to the field of medicine beyond his practice?
The challenges within his medical career.
James McCune Smith faced significant challenges as a black doctor in the 19th century. Despite his medical degree from the University of Glasgow, he was denied membership in the American Medical Association due to his race. This limited his professional opportunities and hindered his ability to network with other doctors. Additionally, many white patients were reluctant to seek treatment from a black physician, regardless of his qualifications. This limited his patient base and made it difficult to establish a financially successful practice. Would you like to hear about how he overcame these challenges, or perhaps about his contributions to the field of medicine beyond his practice?
Why has his story been largely forgotten compared to other abolitionists?
All right, let's dive deeper into James McCune Smith's medical practice. As the first black doctor in the United States, he faced significant discrimination from both patients and other medical professionals. Despite these challenges, he established a successful practice in New York City and became known for his skill.
But why was he forgotten?
There are a few reasons why James McCune Smith's legacy might not be as widely known as some other figures in Black history. First, the focus in many historical narratives has been on the civil rights movement of the mid-20th century, overshadowing the struggles of earlier generations. Additionally, Smith's work as a physician and abolitionist was multifaceted, making it difficult to encapsulate his legacy in a single narrative. Finally, historical records and documentation of Smith's life and work are limited compared to some of his more famous contemporaries.
Well, thank you for that information. We just reached the end of our little workout. We just walked our mile. Let's just hit one more set and we're gonna be ready to go.
We all know the last set is the best set. We're getting right into some overhead knee drives. Let's finish it.